What's going on, guys? This week I've been driving the 2019 Mitsubishi Eclipse CROSS, and right away my big problem with this thing is the name, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. Let's go. All right, my next thought was, what does Mitsubishi actually still sell here in the United States? I know they have the Outlander and Outlander Sport, and I know they brought back the name Mirage for an eco car, but besides this, what else do they have? And after a little bit of looking, that's it. They've got the Outlander, which is their 3-row SUV, the Outlander Sport, which is their bottom of the line SUV. This Mitsubishi Eclipse CROSS fits in the middle of those two, and the only car they still sell is the Mirage, which is an eco car. So now that we're caught up on all of that, let's jump into this car, the Eclipse CROSS. And first things first, this design is quite nice. It looks really sharp. I like the lines. It's very Mitsubishi, but it definitely has a strong and sporty look to it. Up front, you get that nice Mitsubishi grille, you get LED headlights, and on this trim, you get these LED fog lights. And here in the back, you get LED taillights. They go from one side to the other, kind of harping back to the Eclipse of old. And you also get this large rear spoiler. And here on our test car, we get these 18-inch two-tone alloy wheels. All right, and let's talk trim levels real quick. You get an ES, which is the base, and only comes in front-wheel drive. Next, you get the LE, and has their super all-wheel control system. Then the SP, then an SE, and then finally the top-of-the-line trim, which is what we're driving, is the SEL. And all of those come with S-AWC, which is their super all-wheel control. All right, under the hood, you get a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. That pushes 152 horsepower, 184 foot-pounds of torque, and is matched up to a CVT transmission with an 8-speed sport shift mode. There's not really a ton of room here in the back seats. I definitely, as a 6'1" adult, don't fit back here. All right, so let's talk about the interior quality of this vehicle. It is a pretty cheap vehicle. There's not a lot of nice materials in here, but they're decent enough for what you're paying for this vehicle. My biggest issue is that there are already a lot of squeaks and rattles from the seat, from the armrest, from in the back as you're driving. It's a little bit annoying, and it all stems from just cheaper materials. In this one, the SEL, you do get these leather seats with the contrasting orange stitching. Looks really nice. You also get some carbon fiber-like materials, and one of the signatures of a Mitsubishi, in my opinion, one of my favorite features of their interior, is their all-metal paddle shifters mounted on the steering column and not the steering wheel. As far as tech goes, you get a slew of really cool stuff. You get a 7-inch touchscreen display that also has what Mitsubishi dubs the touchpad control. Now, this seems to be a trend with a lot of vehicles going to a further back-mounted screen and a touchpad or some kind of control down in the console. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't mind just doing a touch screen, but as it is, this works decently well. You do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which makes everything so much better because the infotainment system here looks really outdated for a new vehicle. You also get safety features like blind spot monitoring, lane change assist, and rear cross traffic alert. Also in this SEL trim, you get heated seats and a heated leather steering wheel. You do get a multi-view camera system that gives you the 360 view of the vehicle, always nice to have. And you get a pretty cool little heads-up display. It doesn't project onto the windshield, but projects onto a piece of glass that folds up out of the cluster hood right in front of the driver's face. So behind the wheel, this thing is kind of just a basic SUV. That 1.5 liter turbocharged engine doesn't put out a ton of power, so it's not a quick SUV. So the last couple of weeks in our reviews, we've done 0 to 60 times in some SUVs, and I thought about doing one of this, but really, it's not even worth it. Of course, one of the things Mitsubishi is known for is their all-wheel drive systems, and this has the super all-wheel control system. And even though I haven't been able to take it like off-roading or anything, it rained a lot this week, so we drove it in a lot of wet conditions, and for day-to-day driving, it handled really well. Fuel economy wise, you're looking at 26 miles per gallon city and 29 miles per gallon highway. So overall, it's a pretty efficient vehicle. Now, like I've mentioned before, this is a pretty cheap vehicle. It does squeak when you're driving it. It's pretty annoying. I guess one of my biggest issues with this vehicle is that 1.5 liter engine. It really doesn't have a ton of power to get up and go on the highway or even just normal driving. It is pretty slow for something that's kind of dubbed a sporty SUV. It's also not a very refined ride. Again, I know it's a cheaper SUV. You do get a lot of road noise and wind noise. So is the cheap price worth all these inconveniences? Well, we're gonna jump into some comparisons real quick and we'll answer that question now. All right, guys, so let's quickly talk about the nameplate and then we'll jump into the competition. So I used to own a Mitsubishi Eclipse, not super proud of it, but if you don't know, the Eclipse was always a two-door, either coupe or convertible, sporty vehicle from Mitsubishi. It was even featured in the Fast and the Furious 1 and another one featured in Fast and the Furious 2. Despite that movie cred, it was actually a pretty terrible vehicle. They had a lot of issues with it mechanically and electrically, and I actually blew the motor in my vehicle twice. But personal grudges don't really affect my view of the vehicle because I knew many people that had a lot of issues with this vehicle. So why bring back the nameplate Eclipse if it wasn't really even a terribly great vehicle? And if you're gonna bring it back, why bring it back as a crossover SUV and not another sports car? My only thought is that it was just a name that they had the rights to and couldn't copyright a whole other name for the global market. But that's just my theory. I really have no idea. If you guys know or you have any other thoughts, please leave them down in the comments. I'm actually interested in reading what you have to say there. But that being said, let's get on to the competition. So what I see as the biggest competition for this vehicle are vehicles like the Hyundai Santa Fe, which we just drove recently, the Kia Sportage, and the Mazda CX-5. All these are really nice small crossover SUVs that are similarly priced, but pretty much all of them are better than this vehicle as far as powertrain and interior quality. If I had to pick, that Hyundai Santa Fe is probably what I would get, although I do like the Kia Sportage and the Mazda CX-5. And don't get me wrong, there are a ton of other vehicles in the same price range, the same sort of setup, but those are kind of my top three here in this segment. All right, and with that, let's jump out and wrap up this review now. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. And as always, thanks for watching.